Welcome back, guys. I'm Laura. I'm a hairstylist, and today we're going to be testing out removing direct dye hair color with vitamin C powder. I've been in the industry since 2007, and dish soap has always been the #1 little trick that we would use to fade hair color or remove direct dye. While I haven't seen professionally vitamin C being used, I have seen it listed as an ingredient in other things that are made to remove hair color. So this is a pretty good sign. Now, in the video where I used Dawn dish soap, it took me 9 or 10 shampoos with Dawn to get the color faded enough to where I could neutralize any remaining pigment and get the mannequin back to blonde. And I recently colored this mannequin with a color depositing conditioner. So we're gonna see if we can get this mannequin back to its original blonde hair color using the vitamin C method. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is doing these methods on demi-permanent color or permanent color. When hair color is mixed with developer, it is shifting the color molecules that are deep into the cortex of the hair. Semi-permanent colors and direct dyes are more so just stains that coat the hair. They don't go inside and penetrate and alter like demi-permanent and permanent colors do. This is why I so often use these color depositing conditioners on my channel, because it's so much easier to change and go a different direction than if you were to put a permanent or a demi-permanent color on. So if you're watching this and you used a demi-permanent or a permanent color, watch this video above for how to do a soap cap, because that is likely the method you're going to want to use if the vitamin C and the Dawn dish soap didn't pull enough color or get you light enough for what you're going for. So let's go ahead and see if we can just use a vitamin C supplement powder to remove hair color from home. All right, so I am just using a vitamin C powder that I ordered on Amazon, and it already comes in a powder, so we don't need to be like crushing up pills or anything. I would recommend looking for a powder like this. And I'm gonna section this mannequin into 4 quadrants, and I'm actually gonna test out using it with 4 different types of shampoos to see if we get any different results per the shampoo that we use. The reason you want to apply this to dry hair is because the water is going to dilute the product. The only reason you would want to use maybe slightly damp hair is so that it emulsifies better. If you needed to get more emulsification, you could just add more shampoo. Doing this on damp hair can hinder your results, so I would highly recommend doing this on dry hair so that the product gets fully absorbed into the hair without water diluting it. And as far as the 4 different shampoos I'm going to use, the first one is Purify and Revive, and this is a mineral diminishing shampoo, so I thought this was a good one to use because it's like a clarifying shampoo that pulls minerals from the hair. The second one is a L'Oreal thickening shampoo. Now, it does say sulfate free, but this is a cheap shampoo, and it does remove buildup and excess oils from the hair. The next one is a anti-dandruff shampoo, and this is not sulfate free. And one of the recommended routes people say to use is a dandruff shampoo. So we're gonna try a dandruff shampoo. And then the last method, we're gonna use some Ajax. So we are gonna go full on dish soap mixed with the vitamin C. All right, so we are going to make a paste-like consistency. We'll start in this back left quadrant. And we're gonna need quite a bit of this powder. You do not want it to be runny at all. So we're gonna use a lot of powder per shampoo. And we'll start with the Pravana Mineral Diminishing Shampoo. And I'm not measuring this out. I'm just going to eye it and get a good paste-like consistency. And this is looking pretty good here. You want it to be enough so it will spread and stick to the hair, but you don't want it to be so much that it's like runny. So this is kind of cake batter-like. And we're just gonna go section by section. You want to make sure you put gloves on too, especially if you have sensitive skin. It's best to just keep your skin protected from this. All right. And we're really going to rub it in. Now they say that the suds will start to turn colors, and that is definitely true with the Dawn dish soap method. You really want to rub it together with your fingers. So we are really mixing that together. The consistency is so thick that I have to hold the bowl still when I go to put my brush in. I can't just dip the brush in. So that's how thick this consistency is. It needs to be very, very thick and paste-like. I can say maybe it's lightening up a little bit, especially down here at the bottom. All right, our first quadrant is done, and I am just gonna use the same bowl and brush because I have like none left. So we're gonna move on and we're gonna use the L'Oreal shampoo. Now I will say this L'Oreal shampoo is mixing up a little bit differently, and I do think I needed to use a little bit more of it to get the same consistency, and it still even seems a little bit thicker. All right. I will say that so far this method is quite a bit messier than the Dawn method. This method, I am getting powder and paste crap all over the place. And it also seems to be a little bit harder to get everything fully saturated considering it is a paste. So right when we get close up to the scalp, you really have to paint it on there just so you're gonna get the color removed evenly. Oh my gosh. It is so messy. Okay, moving on, we're gonna use the dandruff shampoo. I'm using so much of this that I'm probably gonna go through this entire container that was about $10. So right off the bat, this is a more expensive option because this mannequin is very small. So you would probably need more than this container for a normal person's head. So that is a lot of product. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, this is so flipping messy. Like there is just powder all over the place. And I am scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing this into the hair. I'm probably gonna cut a lot of it out, but just know that I'm sitting for several minutes and I am just scrubbing this into the hair. All right, final section, which is gonna be the dish soap. All right, and that was the last of the powder, so hopefully we have enough. So if we don't get it out in one go, then we're just gonna have to say that it doesn't really work that well because we don't wanna have to be spending a ton of money on this product when we know we can just use dish soap. But let's see if one session will do enough. All right, so now that we are done applying, we are gonna put it in a plastic cap, and then I'm going to put a heating pad over the top. We wanna use heat to open up the cuticle to help the product really get inside to pull out those color molecules. So there she is in the heating pad. I'm probably gonna flip her around like a rotisserie chicken just to make sure that all of the hair is getting access to the heat. And I want to show you what an absolute disaster this was. And in total, I'm going to process her for about an hour. So I just wanted to show, as it's processing, every once in a while I go through and I squish it in there a little bit with my fingers as I rotate to apply the heating pad on a different section. Alrighty, so it has been an hour and can definitely see that it has lightened. Let's go ahead and shampoo this out. Now, similarly, like I did with the Dawn shampoo, we are going to use a regular shampoo, a regular conditioner, and then a moisture mask because this can be drying to the hair. Since it's stripping the dye molecules out, it's likely stripping a little bit of moisture with it. That's okay. It doesn't mean it's damaging per se. You just want to make sure that you're replenishing that lost moisture with a deep moisturizing treatment. Okay, well, we can see it did pull some out because the inside of the cap definitely has some color to it. I don't know if you can see that. Now we're going to use very hot water. All right, so we actually have great results. Most of that color came out, and if you wanted to go back through and neutralize this out, you would do that using the opposite color on the color wheel. So I would use a light blue or a light green color to neutralize this orange. Ultimately, like a teal color would work really well. You could take a deeper blue or green and mix it with conditioner and just play with test strands until you find the right tone. You want to start with it being lighter than darker, just because if you do too dark to begin with, you're going to color the hair green or blue rather than just canceling out this peachy color. I actually don't think that the shampoos that we used, the different shampoos, made a difference at all. They all seemed to take the color out pretty evenly. This section in the front was lighter to begin with because of the previous colors I had on the hair. So because of that, that stain's gonna be a little bit trickier to pull out than it is from the rest of the hair that still has a little bit of tone to it. Now I will say the hair does feel a little gunky. I did shampoo it twice and it still feels a little bit like there's just a buildup on there. But that being said, the hair doesn't feel excessively dry. Now, if you were to ask me which method I prefer, I would probably still have to say the Dawn dish soap method. And this is for a few different reasons. For one, it costs less and you likely already have dish soap in your house. Especially if you have long or thick hair, you're gonna need multiple of those tubs that were about $10 each. So this would cost you a bit more than the Dawn method. The second reason is because it was very messy. You have to rub it in like crazy and it got all over the place. Luckily it didn't stain anything, but it was still very messy and I had a lot that I still had to go clean up while she was processing. And the third reason is because the Dawn process is ultimately just a lot quicker. This process is like a full color application plus a 60-minute process time. So this is gonna take you a long time if you have a lot of hair. But that being said, it did work. And I would say it worked just as well as the Dawn method. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have tried the vitamin C method and if it worked for you. And make sure you subscribe if you wanna make every day a good hair day.